All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another installment of Everything Combat, because life is a fight. And if you're not familiar with the show, ladies and gentlemen, we speak to everyone, people from different walks of life, to overcome different trials and tribulations and obstacles to literally become the best they can be in their particular field. And, you know, it's with a name like Everything Combat, one could assume that it is all physical combat. Yes, we do speak physical combat like we will today. We've had guests like Dan Gable, UFC legends Tito Ortiz, Randy Couture, Jens Pulver, who we'll be speaking with a little later, former heavyweight champion George Foreman. So we've talked to each of those individuals that have overcome different things in life to become champions and just excel in life in general. And, you know, because that is kind of the metaphorical side, not just the physical, but the metaphorical. We all have these things in life that we have to overcome to be the best we can be. So we try to have those inspirational conversations. They're just not giving up. And our returning guest today really exemplifies what we talk about here at Everything Combat. One of our last events we did, the event was called Determination. And this man really exemplifies that term, especially during 2020, as it's been rough on everybody. And even in opening the show last time, he did last year, undertook a Herculean effort to make sure the train kept moving forward. Just incredible turnouts, incredible numbers on the pay-per-view. He just kept going despite, again, a great many of obstacle that was thrown in his way. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the program. He is the CEO of Caged Aggression MMA, Mike Goodwin. How we doing, Mike?
I'm doing great, brother. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, if you don't mind, man, it was so, you know, hat is off to you so seriously. Last year, 2020, like I said, it was hard for all of us. And, you know, you really went through it to put each of these events on back to back to back. You know, and this is Caged Aggression in the state of Iowa. If you don't mind, kind of recap 2020, if you will, and especially the end there where we didn't think we were going to have an event and then we wound up having an event. Talk to us a little bit of how it was in 2020, keeping the train moving.
March has always typically been our largest event of the year. I believe that has a lot to do with timing. People are ready to get out. They've got cabin fever. And March is always the time of the year where we host a big two-night event. And we've actually done a total of 13 two-night events now. But March seems to be the one that above all year long. So here we are 9 days away from our March event as planned, and that's when all the COVID stuff hit, and that's when all the shutdowns began. So they actually pulled that event from us, and you know, obviously nobody knew what was going to happen after that, but I told everybody involved that, you know, at all costs, no matter what, I would not cancel the event. I would just postpone it. That way everybody could, you know, keep the spots they had, keep the pay, keep everything that was already in place. Well, then a month goes by, and another month, and another month, and, you know, 4 or 5 months into this thing, you know, I hit a point personally where I wondered if the event entertainment business would ever be a thing again, which is crushing. I mean, I live for that. I live for concerts and sports and people and,
Sure.
and groups and crowds and fun. So fast forward to September, we finally got the green light. However, we were heavily restricted in all areas. You know, naturally, we went from thousands of people to, you know, 30% capacity was what the venue allowed. But at that point, I said, whatever we have to do, like I said, at all costs, the show will go on. And I, you know, I was thankful because, you know, 30% capacity is a heck of a lot better than some states, which was 0%. And to this day are still 0% capacity. So I took what they gave me, and, you know, we finally were able to host that event in September that was scheduled for March. Well, multiple states, multiple gyms, hundreds and hundreds of fighters, coaches, managers, when I say the train, I mean everybody from you and I to the fighters to our team to the coach. I mean, there's this ripple effect where everybody was shut down. So I'm given this small window of opportunity, and I said, you know what, if we can provide more opportunities, I'm not afraid of hard work. So let's go ahead and plan another one right behind this. And so a month later, we hosted another two-night event. And then not even a week into planning that, I realized, man, I've got hundreds of fighters that want to compete right now and need to compete. So I hurried up and I booked another two-night event. So September, October, November, we hosted 3 back-to-back-to-back two-night events. I was able to work with over 120 different fighters from 16 different states across the country, which was, I mean, we put money aside, man. I mean, obviously it's such a capacity limitation. This isn't about money. This was about all of us getting some sort of normalcy, providing, something to our team and to these fighters. And, by the time we got through it all, as exhausting as it was, especially mentally, I felt like in some roundabout way, this whole thing kind of pushed caged aggression to a different level, because we were able to work with so many different fighters and so many different teams and get our name out there. And then you add the pay-per-view aspect, which was really kind of forced upon us with the COVID thing and with the limited seats. We needed some way to bridge the gap. And so we built the pay-per-view platform where you can actually select the fighter you're supporting, so they receive a portion of the buy. And I believe that was the secret sauce, man. That's what allowed us to pay for the events. That's what allowed the fighters to make more money in a tough time like this. It allowed fighters from California and Florida and New Mexico to still have their fans be able to stand up and support them financially. And yeah, man, so we got through those, and as crazy as it was, now that I look back, I'm thankful, man. I'm not thankful for all of my friends that own businesses and all these people that are struggling in 100 different ways besides the virus itself.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sad for them, and I hope we can all get through this. But at the end of the day, I'm just thankful, man, that so many people supported what we did. We were able to pull it off and to be able to provide things for people that couldn't get them in, like I said, 16 different states.
Yeah. Well, and again, your ability to adapt and overcome in such, really treacherous waters, I always thought was so admirable. And again, I think you were on the Jason Ellis show not too long ago promoting the last card, and he found that referral link a unique thing, especially not being able to get the amount that you want at the gate, having that option for fighters to kind of leverage their popularity in their town or their city where they, a lot of people might like them. It's I think it's a good way to help make sure, like you said, it helps compensate for just they're able to make some money,
Yeah.
And, if 2020 wasn't a headache enough, you jumped to the waters neck deep for 2021. So coming up in March 25th, 26th, 27th, Caged Aggression will be putting on its first triple night event, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Talk to us about what went into that, my friend.
Well, I mean, I touched base a little bit earlier. From the time I started this 10 years ago, for those that don't know, I'm not a fighter. I've never been in a fight. I'm not a coach. I'm not a manager. At the end of the day, I started this as a fan, and I build the events from a fan perspective. What would I want to see if I bought a ticket to the show? That mentality, along with I want to try to make the next show better somehow than the one before that, that's never changed. In a decade of doing this, that motivation and that drive has never changed. So from starting out in this tiny pole barn at a fairgrounds in the town where I'm from, to being able to host 2-night events in Sturgis during the rally out in South Dakota, to being able to have Hall of Fame legends calling the fights for us, and to be able to see this growth, to me, I guess it kind of exemplifies that mindset is working, and to always build it as a fan first, and to always try to improve from the last event. So here we are, a decade later. We've hosted 13 2-night events, and for anybody that's ever done one night, they know that that's madness. So the funny thing is, now when we put out an event, which has been a while, but now when we put out an event that's only one night, people start commenting, it's only one night. So we've become so known for this 2-nighter that I took that aspect. How do we do this again? How do we top what we've already done so many years in a row, and how do we create some new buzz? I took that, and then I also took the fact that we're still kind of in this mess, and these states are still shut down, and there's still not events happening in other states. So I thought, well, if I had hundreds of guys and girls last year wanting to fight, what's going to change? I mean, that number's going to grow. So I said, whatever we got to do, I want to host the first ever 3-night MMA event. So I did a lot of research, and I've yet to be able to find not just us, but anybody that's ever done it. So to be able to kind of put a little stamp on history in little old Iowa. And like I've told you, man, we started this is grassroots. We started this from an idea and just passion and as a fan in a little pole barn. And, a decade later, we've helped guys get into the UFC, and we've really got some notoriety now growing. And so I thought, or back to that, like doing the research, I thought, man, could we really pull off the first ever 3-night event? So I put out a kind of a teaser in December just to kind of gain some interest. And by the time I started building the fight cards in early January, I had over 450 names that wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So here I am thinking, I've got 3 nights worth of opportunities. I'll be able to cover so many gyms. No worries. We'll get you all in there. And all said and done, I'm still churning away 300 plus guys and girls. So yeah, man, it's like, why not do a big 3-night
why
event?
Not?
Yeah, and then a month later, we're going to host another 2-night event right behind that, because I truly want to be able to provide these opportunities while things are like this, in hopes that soon after these states start opening back up and these fighters can compete more.
Are you talking about April or May? You're doing one in
May.
Okay.
Yeah, May 7th and 8th. We signed the contracts for another 2-nighter, which was by no means a part of the cards when I tackled the 3-night event in March. But again, I'm not afraid of hard work, and if what we do can provide these opportunities to, like I said, not just the fighters, but the team and these coaches and managers and everybody involved, then let's rock and roll, man.
Well, and if it ain't broke, don't break it. You of all people have been there since day one. So to see the growth, man, again, it's something, especially from like a grassroots thing. Like you said, you're not afraid of hard work. And I talked to our friend Justin today. A lot of people just want to, we were talking about filmmaking. A lot of people just want their first film to be Schindler's List, or whatever it is. They want to start out on top because they want to be at the top, but they don't necessarily want to work for it. And it absolutely requires very hard work. And talking about some of the talent of your fighters, this is not some outlaw mud show caged event. These guys are former LFA, former Bellator, former UFC. Like you said, a lot of these guys have gone on to the big leagues. Caged aggression is without a doubt no joke. And even before I started working with you guys, I was so impressed with the production. No one's going to be necessarily the UFC, but success leaves clues, and you guys have picked up on so many of them, and especially the production, I think, which really separates the wheat from the chaff. And like you said, you have a couple UFC legends calling your fights. It's like not a lot of people can say that.
It's a packed deal, man. I seem to get a lot of the credit just because, I don't know, maybe, I guess I'm the guy behind it, but really, you've seen the behind the scenes. There are countless people that make this thing come together, that support what we do, including yourself, and really this team effort. I tell the fighters this all the time when I offer matchups. My favorite line to say is if you both like the matchup, then I love it. And I think that when you get two fighters that really, really are invested into the event like we are, and they really believe they have what it takes to win that fight, and they're putting in the work, that we're doing on the same on the outside of the cage. We're building this awesome show, and when it comes together on fight night, man, it's magic.
Well, and that's something I've always noticed. The matchups are just absolutely insane. I mean, it's nothing's lopsided. So many of these guys and gals, they're so hungry. They're so talented. We have people coming out of, Jackson Winklejohn, which, Holly Holm trains there. John Jones trains there. I mean, it's like the last few events, I've just been astounded as to the matchups and some of the spectacular knockouts, some of the most spectacular finishes and submissions. There was a spinning wheel kick. I forget the gentleman's name who did it, but he hit Michael Battleship, who's an awesome game fighter. The knockout was just so incredible. My cohort, Jens Pulver, who, like I said, we'll be talking to later, he says, "Oh shit." This knockout was so spectacular, it made like the Business Insider and Apple News. I mean, it was absolutely awesome to see some of this, and I'm only expecting even more coming up in March.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, man. When we see those charts after each event, and just to see buys all over the place, it solidifies the idea that we had behind it. To try to put together these pay-per-view companies. They've got multi-million-dollar production trucks that put this together. Yeah. Without that type of budget, it really is impressive, man. I'm just as happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, without a doubt, man. And again, I'm always stoked to show up and call some of the incredible action. Ladies and gentlemen, cagedaggression.tv is where you want to go to pick up this incredible 3-night event, March 25th, 26th, 27th. I can just guarantee you will be absolutely impressed by not just the production and the company, but the fights, the fighters. Like I said, these guys and gals come to scrap. So do yourself a favor and check out some of this incredible action. Any closing comments, my friend?
No, just thank you again, man. I know, everybody's time is valuable. So, anybody that's a part of this, I know that you're taking time away from your own thing to be a part of it. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you having me on. Anybody out there listening, I really firmly believe that even though I'm supposed to say this as I'm doing air quotes, the promoter, I firmly believe that up and down each card that we've put together the best fight cards we've done in a decade, and we've had some really great ones. So to be able to say that, if you've ever wanted to check it out and haven't, if you've ever, if you're on the fence or heck, if you're listening to this for the first time, try one night. I think you're going to be very, very impressed.
Well, and to see what, Caged Aggression is cooking, you can go to their Caged Aggression MMA YouTube page where, a great many of fights dating back several years you can find on there. You can find full cards, and I think recently we've been breaking down individual fights. So, go see what they're doing, man, because I'm telling you, you will dig it, and you will definitely come back for more. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Mike Goodwin, CEO of Caged Aggression. Stay tuned. Do not go away, because we're going to be speaking to a couple veterans of the Caged Aggression MMA cage. We're going to be talking to Jordan Hinman, who fought on the last card, and we're going to talk about how that fight ended for him. He's going to be joining the broadcast team with us on Thursday, March 25th, to be calling the action. And a little bit after that, we're going to talk to his opponent that night, Brandon Jenkins, and he's going to give his thoughts on the fight and how it ended. And then in our final segment, ladies and gentlemen, former lightweight UFC champion Pulver is going to be breaking down the fight between Jordan and Brandon, see what went right, see what went wrong. So stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. Mike, thank you again, and stand by. And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Everything Combat right here with Jeffrey Wilson. And as promised, Jordan, the Henchman. Hinman is joining us today. Man, he's had a busy last week or so. We're going to chop it up all about it. Jordan, how you doing, my man?
Good, Jeffrey, man. Appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely, man. Of course, Jordan is no stranger to the Caged Aggression cage. Former LFA veteran, and congratulations. I have to open up the segment here congratulating you. You have a new addition to the family.
Yes, sir. We just, my wife gave birth to our son, Bodie James Hinman, last Tuesday at 7:11 p.m.
I dug that name, too. I've always been a fan of that name, Bodie. I don't know if that was from Point Break. I mean, obviously, it's an Eastern philosophy Buddhist.
That's the only place I've ever heard the name. So yeah. I mean, well, when I mentioned it, I made sure I made my wife watch Point Break.
Absolutely. So well, and it's of course short for like a bodhisattva, which is like an under Buddha. Not specifically, I'm not too familiar with it, but yeah, it's a great name. I love it. Congratulations, man. Daddy duty all day. And I know you have 2 other children, so another addition, man. Just gonna keep you busy. No sleep for Jordan.
Oh yeah.
Well, and Jordan is joining us on the broadcasting team here for the first ever 3-night MMA event. Caged Aggression is throwing on Triple Threat 25th, 26th, 27th of March. You're going to be calling the fights for us Saturday night. Give us your thoughts on stepping into the broadcast booth with us, my friend. I know you had called some Caged Aggression fights before, have you not?
Yeah, I've done several, actually. There for a while, I had a neck issue and wasn't sure how that was going to pan out. So in my downtime, I asked Mike if he wanted any help, needed any help. I'm always like a step ahead of Joe Rogan, like when I'm watching fights live. So yeah. I had a good feeling that I could do it, and I have a lot of fun doing it, and it's exciting to me. I love the sport, and so I love being able to maybe break down or get fans to understand some things that they might not quite, be watching or understanding when they're watching, because it might be their first time, or it might be grandma and she might, pick up on a little something. So
Well, and it was cool, man. I mean, obviously meeting you and having some cool conversations at some of the after parties, or at least one of the after parties for the last events we had, 3 back-to-back. I think it was September, October, November, and we wound up just catching up. And it was really cool getting to know you, man. I was telling a remark to Mike Goodwin, CEO of Caged Aggression, that I really liked you, man. I mean, I've interviewed a lot of martial artists, whether it's Pat Miletich, Boss Rutan, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, and you just always hear that, that martial artist kind of attitude and philosophy when you're talking to real martial artists. And you really had that, man. You kind of just had that really kind of Zen mentality, and just it was really cool getting to know you, man. And I'll be anxious to be calling the fights with you here Saturday night. I think it would be March 27th. Looking forward to it, man. Getting your expertise again. You're no stranger to the Cage Aggression Cage, LFA veteran, so it's always good to get that kind of expert insight as we're watching the fights, man. And it's been a blast for me too. I mean, I literally, when I step into the River Center in downtown Davenport, I really just pinch myself. I'm like, God, I've always been a martial arts fan, mixed martial arts fan, combat sports fan. So I'm getting paid now to do what I would be doing in my living room anyway. Like, holy shit, just losing our mind calling the fights, but obviously with a little bit more refined tact to it. Again, man, it's really looking forward. I'm really looking forward to it, having you on. And as we talked about earlier segments here with Mike Goodwin, and as we're going to see later, Jens Pulver is going to be breaking down the fight you had with Brandon Jenkins during the last event. If you don't mind, obviously it didn't end exactly the way you wanted it to end, but if you don't, I mean, you were you were bringing the pain in that first round. I was thinking towards the end there, you were bringing knees, and I was like, I think I probably even said it's almost over because it was absolutely ridiculous, the knees you were dropping on him in that first round. But
head right into somebody's.
Oh, big knees! Another big knee.
Flying knee from Jordan Hinman.
Oh my
big
God!
Right hand, right flush on the chin. Brandon Jenkins.
Sound like a hammer hitting a coconut, bro.
But if you can, just break down a little bit from your perspective what went down in that fight, going from almost seemingly victory to catching a pretty vicious blow at the end there.
Yeah, it's part of the game, so it hurt at first to deal with it. But, like time heals all wounds. You just got to make do with what sometimes things are just what they are. So we started out, I felt good. I had a good warm up, had a great training camp. I felt phenomenal. I felt confident, felt superior. Brandon Jenkins his nickname's a human highlight reel for a reason. I mean, the guy's pretty crafty. He's got a ton of fights between professional boxing, kickboxing, and mixed martial arts. So he's very he's a veteran, of all combat sports, and definitely dangerous. But I was confident that my power was gonna just be overwhelming, and as the fight started, that's kind of how it started to go. I was starting to gain some momentum. He was bleeding. The fight, didn't last very long, so he was bleeding shortly. I can't remember if it was like a hook or an elbow that I caught him with, but
right on the top, over by his
Jenkins
left.
is cut over the right eye.
Yes, sir. That's a big cut. That is a big, nasty one.
But I was throwing everything with intention to finish the fight, and he threw like a lead hook, and I faded back out of it, and then when I'm coming back in, he starts to spin and throw a wicked elbow.
That might have been from that big shot.
Oh,
elbow to the face of Jordan.
It hit me on the left side of my nose, and he spun from the right, and he hit me on the left side of my nose, and it broke my nose, but part of his elbow hit me like in the eyeball. And your orbital bone they're called blowout fractures. They're designed to break basically when a lot of pressure or trauma hits your eyeball, so you don't lose your eyeball. So my floor broke out, the side broke out, the top broke, the inside was broke because of where the elbow hit me, and then just my cheek over here, because when he was spinning, he was moving, laterally, and so it shoved my cheek over a little bit. And as soon as he hit me, I knew something was wrong. I mean, I've been punched plenty of times, and I've never been knocked out. I didn't lose consciousness. That's the hardest thing to swallow is I didn't, he beat me, he cracked me or whatever, but I didn't have my ass kicked or whatever. It was one shot, and it broke my face. There was literally nothing I could do about it. And so that one stings that I have a KO, TKO loss, because I had 21 amateur fights, 15 professional fights, and that's never, or I guess it's happened now, but that was a tough one, because I would have rather went to sleep. I would have rather
Yeah.
been beat to a pulp or whatever, other than, just a broken bone. It was unfortunate, but man, I'm dealing with it fine. Like, I'm still a warrior. Like, I don't think poorly of myself.
No, absolutely not.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not scared to still fight or anything like that. Like, I have been going stir crazy, not being able to do anything because my face isn't fully healed yet. So, just I felt like I was overwhelming him, and he threw a Hail Mary, and it caught, so.
Well, and as I was talking to Jen's Pulver, as people will hear a little bit later on in the show, it happens, man. I mean, we have incredible knockouts. I mean, all throughout all promotions, UFC included. Michael the Battleship had a high part of a highlight reel, spinning back kick, spinning heel kick to the face, just completely unexpected. And even, as Jens is going to point out as he breaks down the fight, it just, some things just come out of nowhere sometimes that you're just not necessarily even prepared for. It happens.
I mean, he froze me. Like, he's a good kicker, man. So, and he throws a lot of right-sided kicks. So, there was a part where I was getting ready to counter, and that was my fault. Like, I should have never left off the gas or let my foot off the gas, because he doesn't like to be pressured. He's not as good when you're in his face as when he has time to set things up and look for those shots, like a beautiful spinning elbow. And so, I guess if I had to do it again, that is what I would take away from it. Is I kind of wanted to prove that I don't know why people think I'm such a grappler. I mean, I grew up wrestling and stuff, but I have 9 victories, 7 knockouts, 2 submissions. So, I mean, I like to knock people out, and somebody like the human highlight reel, I kind of avoided a different sort of game plan that I could have took that probably would have sealed the deal. And that's like, I was in on a takedown early, and I was like, no, because to be honest, I was gonna attempt a cartwheel kick for the first time in a fight. I have a really good one. I have a great way to set it up, and that's all I kept visualizing was a cartwheel kick. So I was trying to find the right opportunity. And I'm out there playing with fire, and I got burned.
Well, so. And if I remember correctly, you guys were right in front of us, in front of the broadcast area there, and you really didn't have anywhere to move. Your back was pretty much against the cage, if I remember correctly. So there wasn't any kind of lateral movement or any way to kind of move out. I guess your kind of back was against the wall once you were back against the cage there, and he threw that on you. You didn't really have anywhere to go.
Well, I mean, the thing was so he threw a lead hook, and it grazes the front part of my face. So I moved out of that. If I would have just moved my hips when I moved my head, he would have missed me completely, because he spun over here on the right side. I mean, it should have hit me over here, but it didn't. It crossed midline, and it hits me on the way out. So if we're talking an elbow coming this way in a spinning motion, it's not going to continue to drive through. It's going to start to hook at some point. So if I'd have just moved my hips, it would have changed the whole positioning of my face, my body. But I didn't. I was wanting to counter, and I throw a check hook as he's starting to spin, and he spins out of it. And like I said, I come back in, and that's when it hit me. If I'd have just took a half step, and maybe in any direction, he might, I'm thinking he probably wouldn't have hit me at all. But we don't know, because that's not what happened.
I don't know if you have heard him mention, we talk about even calling fights with Jens and Pat, how visualization is a huge part of success. You visualize doing a cartwheel kick. He has said that he visualized and trained for a spinning elbow. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, he said that he had dreamed about it. And I mean, I'm not going to call the guy a liar. Maybe he did. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And if he did, that's pretty badass. It sucks that I'm on
the receiving end of it,
on the bad end of it. But like I told Mike, that was cool as shit that I was able to be a part of something so spectacular, because it's
good way to look at it. Good way to look at it.
It just sucks that it had to be me, but it easily could have been the other way around. So
for sure,
and I know he's not out there he didn't want to do that to me. You know what I mean? People don't understand. They think we're just beasts or whatever. We just want to hurt people. And I explain people all the time, I don't want to hurt anybody, but I want to win. And if that's what it takes to win, that's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah,
But I'm very empathetic. Like I feel
for sure.
like I'm sure he, after it all set in and he had his time to celebrate and stuff. A couple of days later, I bet he felt pretty bummy or whatever. He messaged me and stuff. That he's a good dude. So yeah, like Jenkins is a cool cat, and I never even had a problem with him prior to or whatever. It's just I wanted to see if I could beat that flashy sort of style fighter, and I didn't.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's part of. I was watching Dominic Cruz. He posted some stuff on his Instagram, and he's, this isn't a game. He was talking about the recent Frankie Edgar knockout and just sometimes the downsides of catching that L. And it's not just, it's not always just a decision loss. Sometimes people can and really do get hurt. If you don't mind, I was wondering, because I think I texted you, or messaged you that night. I'm sure you probably weren't into getting many messages, but if you can go through a little bit what that night was like, some of the procedures you've had to go through. I know you stacked up a whole bunch of bills. So, ladies and gentlemen, when we order this next fight, ksaggression.tv, there is a referral code for Jordan here to obviously help him out with some of his bills. We got most of them taken care of, but it was a pretty hefty price tag, and he's still got a little bit way to go. So you can help him out in that regard. But yeah, it's I was just worried, man. So just because that was such even Pat when it happened.
Spinning elbow. That's bad. That's bad.
You heard that?
That's bad. That's bad. Oh my God. Whoa.
Wow, you heard that, ladies and gentlemen. Spinning elbow.
That could be a broken orbital injury.
Yeah.
That's more than that. That's a cheekbone also.
You heard that pop, ladies and gentlemen.
That's bad.
Oh my God, it's bad. And even just the sound. I don't mean to belabor how it seemed so gruesome at the time, but if you don't mind, just talk to us a little bit about the medical expenses and the procedures you had to go through.
Yeah. So with the sound, that was terrifying when you hear or whatever. But the COVID thing, there like nobody was drinking, nobody was eating, so everybody's like stone sober, probably like wanting to get out of the place, so they can grab a drink or celebrate their family and friends and stuff, so you could hear a rat piss on cotton. That's how quiet it was in there. And I stole that from Chael Sonnen, so don't think I came up with that. But
that's all right.
So I mean, when he hit and it echoed through that building, like that was tough to hear. Not so much see as just the sound of it was brutal, and you could hear the sincerity in Pat's voice and stuff. Like, Pat messaged me a whole bunch of times, and he sent me some black oxygen and stuff like that. So that was
awesome.
That was super cool. And so if you guys get a chance, go ahead and check out Black Oxygen. Like at first, like I knew I was hurt, but I'm still kind of amped up. Like my adrenaline's going and stuff. Like so I'm back, and the doc's looking at me, and he's telling me I need to go to the hospital. And I'm sitting there with an ice pack on my face, and I'm smiling, and I'm laughing, and I'm telling people, I'm like, get a picture of get a picture.
Okay.
They're like, doc's like, no, bro, you need to go. Like, I don't think you understand. Like, go. And I was like, all right, I gotta get this blood off me. He's like, no, you need to get dressed and you need to go to the hospital. I was like, okay, all right. So I go back there, and I'm still fiddle fucking around and stuff. Like, I knew I was hurt, but it didn't hurt like it was about to. So get all my stuff on. We're walking out, and it's starting to creep in now. It's like, okay. I get in the vehicle with my wife, and I think the hospital was only like 8 minutes away or something. Like, it wasn't very far away. And by the time I got there, like, I'm folded over in the front seat, head between my legs, just the worst pain. I mean, I've torn my ACL. I've had cervical spine surgery. I've never felt anything like that. The pain was very excruciating. And I remember I was real upset with the nurses and stuff when I come in, because they wanting to ask me questions, and like I just wanted to like take the pain away, fix my face, then I'll answer your questions,
Yeah.
And I knew not to blow my nose or it was gonna swell my eyes shut. And I'm telling it, like, but I'm starting to freak out because I can't breathe, the blood and everything, and like I need to get it out of my. I'm telling them, like, hey, you need to help me so I can get this blood out of my nose or something. I said, because if I blow my nose, we're gonna have a lot more complications. And so they finally get me back there, and I think I had like 2 or 3 shots of morphine and then 2 shots of Demerol by the time I left that place before I was not in so much pain that I, like it finally took like damn near knocking me out. And I got this tube and I'm just sucking blood out. It's this little suction tube and just blood. So I didn't get home. It's probably like an hour and a half drive. I got home at like almost 4 o'clock in the morning. So I spent several hours in the emergency room. They couldn't do anything for me. And so I had to get me an appointment in Iowa City. And so I had to wait obviously a couple days to do that. I can't remember if it was Monday or Tuesday, but I get up there and they take a look and everything, do a scan, all that good stuff. And the doctor wasn't able to get me in for like a month for surgery. And so we switched we switched doctors because it was only going to be 2 weeks as opposed to a month or so. And I don't have short-term disability. I only have long-term. So up until 90 days, I don't get paid. So I was like, man, I got to get this thing rolling. I got to get back to work. I got a pregnant wife. I got 2 kids. So we went with the other doctor and had surgery December 4th, I think it was, and it happened November 21st.
Yeah.
So so I had to sit basically for 2 weeks, can't breathe, spitting up blood. It's, running down. I'm trying to sleep sitting up,
Can't even imagine, bro. Wow.
Right. And then they got me on pain pills and shit. And I'm not a big fan of pills and stuff. Like, I don't like shoveling pharmaceuticals down my throat. I don't even like taking, I don't even like taking aspirin or ibuprofen or anything. Like, if something's sore, I deal with it. You move on.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So I'm 2 weeks of shoveling these pills down my throat and then have surgery. And of course it's going to have to shovel more pills down my throat. And
Jeez.
I had surgery and I thought the night of the emergency room was the worst of it. When I woke up from surgery, that was the worst of it. It was supposed to be like
pain.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like 4 to 5 hour surgery and ended up being like 10 hours or whatever. And I woke up from that and it took me a long time to wake up. And I remember my arms had hurt really bad because they had strapped me down. And so the fronts of my shoulders hurt, probably from trying to like,
power out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, because what they did was they cut me from the inside of my mouth from about my nose all the way to the back of my gum. And then they peeled my face away. And then that's how they, that's how they got up there to do their business. And I don't know the exact numbers on what, but there's a combination of 60 screws and plates that's holding my face together. Because they said all of this was like cornflakes, but they were able to keep the existing bone. So my face is plated together and screwed together to hold the plates. And but they told me like I didn't have to have surgery. I could have just been all coggly-eyed or whatever, like I was. And
they said you didn't have to have surgery?
No, I could have just let it grow. It would, calcium would have built up. It would have healed itself. And they said it probably would have been stronger than it is now. So
interesting.
Yeah, it was very strange. It was like, no.
Let's go ahead and get this taken
care of.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you may not be able to tell, or anybody may not be able to tell, but this is what I call my creepy eye now. My face muscles don't work very well through here, like when I smile.
You still got a nice smile there, bro.
It just stays open, but it stays open. Like, and it's not until I point it out do they notice. But watch. You see how this eye like closes and this one just stays open.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But also while I'm sitting here, it's open farther than my eye is on this side. So I mean, obviously I can tell because I've looked at myself every day my whole life. But and then it's also they set it in too far back, so I have some weird double vision, like when I look out my eyes when I look down or when I look out each side of it. So
that's what I was going to ask you about, any kind of possible lingering effects, not just from the injury, but from the surgery as well. I thought you mentioned something about a little nerve damage. I think that's kind of what you're alluding to.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So there's a nerve that runs through your face, through your cheeks or whatever. Like when you get Novocaine at the doctor, that's what they're hitting, and it numbs all this. And so for the longest time, it was all my nose to my eye, and then my teeth all the way. Like this whole area was it was numb, and it was like painfully numb. Like it wasn't just like, oh, I can't feel it. Like it hurt. I remember just grinding my teeth because I wanted the pain in my teeth to stop. Well, that's subsided now, and the only part that's numb is just like this little area right here, and then like my front teeth kind of still. But I mean, other than a little double vision and a little numbness still, like, I mean, I'm pretty good.
Is that, I mean, as far as the long-term prognosis, does the doc say that's something that'll subside? Will you get back to some measure of 100%?
Possibly, or possibly not. It'll take months for the nerve to.
Yeah, you start talking about nerve damage. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd probably heal if it does at all. Like it doesn't have to. He said it was bruised pretty badly or something like that.
I'm sure. Well, and again, intention is a big thing with me, and I don't ask this to be salacious or to touch on any sensitive subject, but has the doctors told you, or have you any thoughts on your future fighting? Does they say it's over, or how's that playing out? Or how do you want it to play out?
Obviously, what I want is I mean, we know what I want. I mean, if you know who I am, you know what I want. Yes. From what I recall, the doctor told me in like 3 months I would be able to be punched and stuff again. Like my face would be good to go. He said I won't be as strong as it used to be, but you'll be healed. But then my wife tells me that they said I can't get hit in the face anymore because of the screws and it's like wire meshing, kind of what they call plates or whatever. And I guess that push through my face, or they can shift or something like that. And so I haven't confirmed or heard for myself, what my doctor thinks yet, because I'm just focused on getting healthy for one. Yeah. And then of course we just had a baby. So
yeah, taking care of that new little one.
And I want to make sure all the emotion's gone when I make a decision. If I was by myself, the decision would already be made. I'd be just waiting till I could train again, and then we're going to push forward. But I love my wife, and it tears her up prior to watch me, prior to the injury, to watch me fight and stuff, and the anxiety and stuff she gets and all, you know what I mean? And so something like this really hurt, she's never had to see me weak, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. And, so she spent 2 months, taking care of me because it was bad. And so, I got to take that into consideration. My kids, I think they're fine. I don't think that really affected them. To me, I'm just showing them toughness or whatever. Like things aren't as big or as tough as you think they are. I had my face broken, and I would literally go back to doing the thing that broke my face.
Well, and that, you definitely, indemnify, if that's the word, or you really embody, everything combat, because life is a fight. Whatever walk of life you're in, you're going to be hit with obstacles and adversarial situations that you have to overcome. And, again, you really, really embody that. That's why it's so cool, man. I mean, I would, me personally, I wouldn't rush to get back in the ring, but you are a warrior, and that's what warriors do. But it'll be great, man, to sit and call the fights with you. Even, hanging out afterwards. I really find you to be a cool cat, man. Very introspective when we spoke. And like I said, I always get that vibe from a lot of like real martial artists, and you definitely are that, my friend. Wow. That's crazy, man. Like I said, I'm glad we've had this chance to talk, because I hadn't, just through other messaging and stuff. That's kind of all the correspondence we've had. And I was, even that night, man, I was just like, it's crazy. You were backstage, like yucking it up. I don't know.
It was kicking me out. They're like, dude, go.
It didn't take long for those endorphins to wear off. But man, I was glad to see you're okay, dude. It really is great to speak to you. And like I said, I'm super stoked to be calling those fights with you, man. Any other final words? Anything else you want to say to our Everything Combat crew?
Oh man, regardless of if I ever compete again, I'll always train. Like I will always have my feet in martial arts somewhere, whether it's I can still probably do jiu-jitsu and stuff like that, and I can kind of maybe I'll leave some of those temptations to compete there. It's just nothing's as exciting as avoiding a broken, face for victory. I mean, people just they can't fathom it. They'll never understand it unless they do it. And yeah, I love it. So I'm always going to be healthy. I'm always going to eat good. I'm always going to lift weights. I'm always going to take care of myself. I'm always going to train because you never know what is going to step in front of you in a day. And I'll tell you what, Dan Gable said after wrestling, all else is easy. Well, the same thing with mixed, like fighting, man. After combat sports, all else is easy. It's just nothing. Dude, bro, like training to fight another guy that's training to it's not a drunken bar fight. They just people just don't get. They just don't.
They're comfortable with their beer and their chips telling you what you should have done in the cage or whatever. And if you want to check the archives, ladies and gentlemen, we actually have interviewed Dan Gable. Really, really incredible conversation. So much I just didn't know about him, which was amazing. Cool, man. I'm again so stoked to chat with you, man. So stoked to have gotten to know you. Really excited to call the fights with you. March 25th, 26th, 27th. He will be calling the fights on the 27th. So if you go to cageaggression.tv, you can order the event all 3 nights, or if you want to order through specific nights, click that button for my man Jordan Hinman, and you will assist with taking care of some of his medical expenses, brother. It's been a pleasure, man. It's good to see you're doing okay. So happy for you with the new addition to the family. Looking forward to hollering at you here coming up March 27th, live at the River Center.
Yeah, man, I love it. Thanks for having me. And, thank you to anybody that has put forward for my cause, a cause not of their own, but just out of, I guess, love for combat sports. I mean, I really can't express how many people have messaged or donated or genuinely concerned. It's very overwhelming because I'm a nobody. I'm just a regular person. But to some people, I guess I'm not. They view me as I've been told stories where I've inspired, and nobody's. They've never told me that before, but they felt compelled to tell me what I've done in their life to maybe help me get through my tough time. And that's very touching and moving. And I love that because that's why I share my experiences, that hopefully somebody can learn from my example or from my mistakes, and that's all I want out of life. Like, I've taken so much from this world. I feel like my job is to give back. And that's all I want to do is, help others maybe realize how strong they are, or that things really aren't that bad. Because my life was not easy coming to be a 35-year-old man where I came from and where I'm at today. Sometimes it's a little surreal, and that's why I love it, man. That's why I take a look around sometimes and I see the house I'm in and the things I've done, and it just blows me away that I have now 3 kids that love me unconditionally, but a woman that does too. And it's a very gratifying, rewarding thing. And if you guys want to send me a message, if something's bugging you, if something's bothering you, I promise you I will take the time to respond. I will tell you what I think and what I feel. I've been through a lot, so I always have something that can relate to everybody. So
well, you definitely got a very interesting, and life is a fight, ladies and gentlemen, and stories like these, Jordan, are only going to add to your legacy of inspiring people. And for me personally, the fights I have called of yours has been an absolute pleasure. Whatever decision you make, man, you're a absolutely stellar human being. And again, congratulations on the newest edition. And again, man, looking forward to March 27th, cageaggression.tv. We'll be calling the fights with my man Jordan. Thank you so much for your time, my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Jordan the Henchman Hinman. Stay tuned.
Peace.
All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another segment here of Everything Combat, because life is a fight. And as promised, we're going to be chopping it up with Brandon Jenkins here, as he's going to be participating in, I believe it's Friday night, the Triple Threat event, March 26th, right here live from the River Center in Davenport, Iowa. And Brandon is taking a little bit of time. Just got home from training. How you doing, sir?
Doing awesome. The weight's on point. I'm ready to rock and roll.
Nice. Well, we're going to get to a little bit of that weight stuff because you have a very interesting background. And when you, obviously, we're going to be talking to you about your last fight with Mr. Hinman, Jordan the Henchman Hinman. And I believe it was during, your victory lap you were taking there as you spoke to Mr. Vargas in the center of the cage. You talked about your background struggling with weight a little bit. So talk to us a little bit about your background and especially that and how you kind of got into the martial arts.
Well, I've always fought at 155. It's been like my home for most of my career. I have moved up to like 70 every once in a while if the fight is right. But for this fight, I wanted to do a fight at 70 or 65 first, just because I had 2 ACL surgeries in 2020. So, wow. Yeah, I had to do 2 of them because the doctor, when he fixed my ACL, he put like a defective piece in my knee, and it's called a button, and basically the button fell off like 12 days after my surgery, and we did an MRI or whatever, and or X-ray, and we found the piece like popped out and floated back into my middle of my kneecap. And he's like, we got to do it again. I was like, fuck, okay. So I had to go back in there and do another surgery, and the doctor did awesome. Like, I haven't had any like swelling or any issues with my knee, and we did a cadaver ligament, and everything's been great. Like, my knee is like 100%, but when you come back from like a catastrophic knee surgery, like you just put on like 40 pounds plus the pandemic, and
yeah,
I end up pushing. I usually walk around like 175, and I got all the way up to like 210 pounds. I was kind of a fat boy. So I spent most of last year just rehabbing my knee. And then my Goodwin's like, dude, we're doing a 2-night event. We'd love to have you on. And me and Mike's always talked, and I've always pushed people towards Mike. Like, this is like one of the best shows in the Midwest. You got to go fight on it. And I've always wanted to fight for Cage Aggression also. I've just been locked into an LFA contract for like the last 3 years. And I finally fought out my contract and ended up hurting my knee my last fight. So took the year off, and I was like, dude, I want to fight on that show in November. And he offered me the Hinman fight, and I actually wanted like maybe not as tough as a fight before the Hinman fight. My plan was maybe to do like a fight at 70 and then do my next fight against Hinman at 55. That's what I really wanted, but we ended up just taking the Hinman fight. I was like, let's do Hinman at 65. Me and him are both 55ers, basically. We're both gigantic 55ers, so let's just meet at 65. And Mike's like, yeah, well, we have a super lightweight champion and we have a super lightweight class, so why don't you guys just meet there, and if you get past Hinman, then you could fight for the title. I was like, okay, cool. So it was basically like a number 1 contender fight, and I ended up wanting to meet Jordan at 65, so we did the fight, and I had to lose. It was basically like the whole year was like a weight cut for me. So went from 210 to like 175, and then did a 10-pound easy cut. So it was actually one of the easiest weight cuts I've ever had.
Well, and we saw how that fight was going in that first round. It was ended in the first round. Give us your thoughts on how that was playing out for you, because watching it and even commentating it and even talking to Jordan, it was it was very much so back and forth. But he seemed like before you nailed him, he was nailing those knees on you. How much in trouble were you during that beginning part of that first round?
Well, I came out and I had the 14th month layoff, and I wanted to come out and just kind of get comfortable, but like Jordan didn't let me get comfortable. He kind of came out, started picking and poking, and I know Jordan's a good striker. We're kind of similar in some of the stuff we do, and I have a lot of respect for the Skunk River grappling gym. Like those guys are all really tough out of there. I fought Crazy Carl out of there, and he came out and he kind of surprised me with some stuff, and like I threw a calf kick. I caught him with a calf kick, and I could see on his face like he was like, "Oh yeah, I'll show you a calf kick." And he kind of came at me and threw one. I lifted my leg up, and we ended up getting like tangled up. But yeah, I was just trying to get comfortable in there and knock off the ring rust, if you believe in that kind of stuff. But
sure,
he kind of jumped on me early. Yeah, I was just trying to get comfortable. He jumped on me early. I just kind of had to try to slow down the pace because he was pushing a real heavy pace. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to try to slow this down a little bit.
Because he cut you pretty early on. He cut you pretty early on, yeah.
Yeah, he threw – I didn't even know I was cut, to be honest. Like, nothing hurt me. We were going against the cage, and like, I felt something dripping on my foot. So I was like, what is that? It's weird how you can kind of feel weird things. And we were clinched up. There was no strikes being like thrown. And then I felt dripping on my shoulder and on my foot. And I looked down and I was like, oh my gosh, someone's bleeding. Oh, I think it's me. And I've never been cut before. That was my 70th fight. I've never been in a fight. Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I've had like 50 something MMA fights, and then amateur and pro. And then I had close to 20 kickboxing, and I had a boxing match that I won, but I've never been cut before. So I was like, oh, this is kind of different. I was like, I got to get him back. And like, as we separated, he got the tie clinch and he threw some knees. I think one landed in the chest, but then I kind of framed on him where most of them are. He caught my elbow a couple times. I did my forearm, but none of them hit me and hurt me. But it was kind of like, okay, like he's going hard still, but hopefully he can slow down, you know? And so we separated, and then he hit me with the right hand. I was like, okay, I'm still here. That was a heavy one. And I've been known for having a good jaw, good chin, but he caught me good. It was loud. And I was like, okay. But then I could kind of see in his face, he was like, you know, like, dude, you know, like I could see he was a little frustrated too. Cause I like to keep the soft pressure on people. Soft pressure is where you're kind of like, you're in their face. You're close enough to touch them and make them feel uncomfortable. But even if you're not throwing strikes the whole time, you know? So I just kept soft pressure on him, and I could tell he was getting a little frustrated. And at the same time, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to try to get him back because he cut me. I didn't realize how short the fight was already, or like how far into the round we were, because it was kind of a long or a fast paced. So I just threw it and I caught him. I didn't know that it was going to do the damage that it did. I thought I was just going to cut him with it because, you know,
you're talking about the spinning elbow.
Yeah, like I didn't know I was going to throw the spinning elbow. I was going to finish him. I did have a dream like 3 weeks before the fight.
I was going to ask you about this.
I was gonna. So Jordan likes, when he gets tired and starts brawling, he likes to drop his left arm, kind of like boxer style. And I was thinking, I'm gonna spinning back fist him the other way over his shoulder and knock him out. So we did a lot of spinning stuff. I had no idea that I was gonna spin through and elbow him, you know, on that side. But yeah, I did have an idea of finishing him with the spinning move, just not that spinning. You know, I heard Jordan in another podcast say that it was kind of a Hail Mary, and it wasn't a Hail Mary. It was just kind of like I'm gonna get you back for cutting me, you know. And it wasn't like I was like, oh my gosh, what am I gonna do? I just got to end this quick. But I like Jordan and I like his style, and I've always been a big fan of those guys at Skunk River. But if you look back, like the last 5 or 6 fights that I've had, like the fights on TV or whatever, I even fought his buddy Crazy Carl. We both spinning elbowed each other at the same time. We both hit each other in the back of the head. So, I mean, you look back for like 5 or 6 fights, like I've always thrown spinning heel kicks, spinning back kicks, spinning elbows, spinning back fist. So it's not like it was like a real Hail Mary. And my coach actually called it before we walked out. He's like, you're going to spinning elbow this guy. It's just so freaking wild that it actually happened.
Well, I don't know if you've he actually, I interviewed him obviously before talking to you, and he had visualized doing a cartwheel kick. I don't know if you've heard that from him.
No, I didn't. That's wild though.
That's a pretty audacious one to try out too, a cartwheel kick like that. The percentage of times of landing that I know is probably a little tougher than a spinning elbow.
I've never seen him do a cartwheel kick, so probably.
I think he said he hadn't done one, but he was going to try one out. Well, when you did, like you said, when you did finally land that elbow, I mean, obviously, you know, recognizing the fact that Jordan is, you know, kind of a monster and he's not somebody to sleep on. Once you went in there and finished it so impressively, and even in the first round, what were your thoughts when you saw him drop? Did you know it was bad? Is it what it was? I mean, I don't know if you remember hearing it, but the sound was just absolutely insane. But did you know, once you hit that and he dropped, what was your thoughts?
Well, I threw it and I stepped through with it. So the way it happened is he kind of like went to parry me and throw a real big left hook, and I went under the hook because I like kept my vision on him the whole way through. I was like, okay, I'm not looking away. I'm going to spin through and look at my target. So I spun through, but I still didn't like stick the landing. I threw the elbow and it landed, but I like tripped over his leg, and I was just trying to get up quicker than him, and he didn't get up, and then the ref kind of came over, and I threw like 2 punches and I hit his like shoulder or whatever, and it was just weird, I didn't feel it hit him. It's like almost like it went through him so fast that it didn't I didn't get like that contact feeling. So it was kind of weird for me. And like, I never wanted to do like catastrophic damage to somebody like that. Yeah. I mean, like, that's horrible. And like, I'm so happy to be a part of Cage Aggression too, because like what Mike was able to do during the pandemic is just unbelievable.
It's absolutely amazing. I mean, he's I talked to him obviously at the beginning of this interview or this episode here, and it's just, you talk about, again, that last fight card, November, determination, like no better word really illustrated what he was doing, what all of you guys were doing with persevering in the face of just, obstacle after obstacle after obstacle. It was absolutely insane. Well, I am looking forward to it, my friend, looking forward to calling it. And March 26th, ladies and gentlemen, cageaggression.tv. If you care to purchase this fight, you can do so at cageaggression.tv, and you can go to the referral link for Mr. Brandon Jenkins, help his pocket out a little bit. Man, sir, it was really interesting to talk to you. I really wanted to hear your thoughts and the breakdown of that last fight. I've only called fights for a couple years now, but it was just, I mean, if you heard it back, you heard the alarm in even Pat's voice when he was saying how bad that elbow was. And I was, just sitting right there. You guys were just like a feet and two in front of us. And that pop, that sound was just something that like echoed in my head the whole night. It was just crazy. But you came out victorious, sir. Congratulations. And we have a worldwide pay-per-view audience, my friend. Literally all over the world will be tuning in to check out you do your thing.
We got 2 tables. I'm bringing 2 convoys from Minnesota. Nice. So like all my fans, I don't know what happened last time, but we got like 10 people down there, bought a table. But this time I got extra people. So not more pressure, just more support, I guess.
Absolutely. For sure. You got more people in your corner, my friend.
Yep.
Well, Brandon Jenkins, again, cageaggression.tv. Check out that referral code to buy the event under Brandon's name. All the best to you, my friend, and look forward to calling your fight March 26th.
Thank
Absolutely.
You.
Take care and safe travels on your way back here to the Quad Cities, my friend.
Can't wait.
All right, buddy.
Well, we are back, ladies and gentlemen, and as promised, we have Little Evil Jens Pulver, the very first UFC Lightweight Champion, joining us today to break down the epic battle with the devastating finish, Brandon Jenkins versus Jordan the Hinman Henchman. But before we get to that, speaking of the UFC Lightweight Championship, as we record this is the 20th anniversary of Jen's victory and picking up and becoming the very first UFC Lightweight Champion. Champ, let's go back in the Wayback Machine for a hot second, man. What were the preparations for that fight? What was your mindset going into it? And obviously, becoming victorious and becoming the very first UFC Lightweight Champion.
The one thing I remembered above all of it was when I was cutting weight on the boardwalk. Boardwalk meets the sea, right? I think that's Atlantic City where the boardwalk meets the sea.
Yes, sir.
And I was out there running, and I'll never forget this. I stopped somewhere on that boardwalk, and I was just thinking to myself, am I really ready? Am I really ready to fight this guy, Uno? Am I really ready to, am I good enough to do this? And I'll never forget that ever. It's like, am I ready? This is like going, quote unquote, international. I'm fighting. This is Uno. I watched him just beat Ruben Asado, who, again, the submission game of Ruben Asado, if people need to go back and watch it, it's not even funny how slick and how sick he was so far before his time. And to see Uno, again, being flown over there and to watch that fight and see Uno beat him in Shudo, again, mind you, and the way he got out of everything, I say, am I really ready? You know how everybody, when you first start fighting, you were like the local shows. And, of course, I did some UFC fights, but I was like, man, am I really ready for this? And I was thinking, I've been waiting my whole life. This is that goal I've been trying to achieve, becoming the UFC World Champion. I remember stopping there and just kind of, it's not movie-esque, but, you're sitting there, I'm on the boardwalk, meets the sea, I'm running, I'm looking out, just thinking, this is really about to happen. Like, am I really ready for this? Am I really ready to am I good enough to be the UFC World Champion? I've been watching it since, I was in college, and And so it was surreal, it was definitely surreal doing that run. And, luckily I had a phenomenal team. I just believed in my team so much. I believed in what I was doing. Yeah, I'm ready. But I had that conversation.
Yeah, yeah. So I can understand it like the day before, but even calling fights with you, we talk about how important the mental game is, visualization, et cetera, to becoming, the champ or victorious in this sport. So were you able to shake that as you're walking to the cage? Did you shake any of those kind of butterflies, or were those still kind of lingering a little bit?
It was off once when I in that locker room, when you go in there, the butterflies are sitting there. We always do the sports book or something like that, watch horses, and bet on the ponies, so to speak, because I grew up on the racetrack. So it's always, if you want to find me kind of the day of or something like that, we tend to sit in the sports book, watch, and then you get that, you just know it's that time, and everybody comes out and go, all right, you ready? And so then you have to get up and you do the whole, you hug your mother, you hug your brother, you hug your friends and everybody, and that's your goodbye. And in a dark moment, that hug, there's that because there's no guarantees. You don't know if you're ever going to come out of that cage. I mean, That's what people need to understand. And we're talking about that, especially this fight that we're wanting to break down coming up. You never know what's going to happen. You can be in control right up until the end, and all it takes is for somebody to spin something off, and your life will change for the rest of your life. Right. And that was the one thing, but that's every time you do it, and it's kind of that surreal. I can imagine the soldier giving his family a hug when he gets on that bus to go to boot camp, or getting ready to go to war, kind of thing. It's that, and people, I don't know if they look at that. Obviously, we don't want to get in because it's still a sport. Everybody loves it. Ooh, the rush of it. But I'm just saying, for most people, you have that moment. It's like, all right, it's time. So you get to give everybody your hug and say your goodbyes, and I'll see you afterwards. It's weird when you go back and think about it now. There's so much behind that. I know everybody has that with their peoples, and then it's time. But then, like anybody, you put on the game face and it's time to go. You've been training for 6 months, 7 months, your entire life to become the world champion. So then I just turned it off. I'm like, it's all that goes out the window. Now I'm with my team. Like, your troops I'm with my team, and I believe in them more than I believe in anything. So just hold on and get ready. And like Pat said, not to cut you off, but like what Pat said, this is all preordained. This is all predetermined. God has a plan. Now you just got to go play it out. Just go out there and play it out. There's nothing else we can do. We trained, we put in the work. Now it's all in their hands, your hands. It's all in that moment, right?
Well, and to have those moments, man, of, before the fight, that mental game, can I do it? Can I do it? And then getting into that lock and load mode after all the preparations, like you said, you're there with your team and it's over. You get the strap. Dana wraps that strap around your waist. What are your thoughts, man?
I was bawling like a baby. I couldn't believe it. But like I said, I said it before, I'll say it again. I remember that night when it was all done, and I woke up in the middle of the night into my bed, and I popped up. I was like, and I was just sitting there, and I look over. Oh yeah, it was sleeping right next to me. I looked over on my pillow, and I was like, and I'm looking at it going, I really did it. This isn't a dream. I thought I was in the middle of a dream. I'm not lying to you. I looked, I was like, I really did it. I really became the UFC lightweight. At the time, they called it bantamweight, but I knew it was still 155. Yeah. I became the UFC 155-pound world champ. And in my mind, because of all those fights, the Boss Rutins, all the things I had to do at 170, the conversation I had with John Peretti, hey, we want to start this 155-pound division. I've got this guy, Alfonso Alcaraz. I want you two to fight. I would just go back and remember the conversations, remember graduating college, remember people saying, you're crazy to do this. They don't even have your weight class. You're out your mind. You're going to be an MMA fighter. And I just remember it. I did. I popped up in the middle of the night. I was like,
that's mine.
I really did it. I did it. Yeah. And then I got on a plane with Pat, and I went with him to South Carolina, and he did a seminar. And I just laid there, and ironically, that's how I met. And Spencer Fisher happened to be someone showed up to that seminar, and that's how I met Spencer Fisher. And that's a whole nother word.
You didn't get to the point where you were like your teammate Tim Sylvia rocking the belt to the grocery store, were you?
No, I couldn't do such. I don't know, is that ever true? But what I'll tell you, ever since I heard that story, it did remind me of, I always thought the UFC could have done something for their champs. Either a ring, a big championship ring. But what I thought would have been cool is a belt buckle. Cowboys and everybody, it's all about that belt buckle in the rodeo, right? The bigger the buckle, the bigger the game. But that was like one of those things I always thought, right? But I'm saying is if you could get an only champions only, and you can get into the argument of, I just remember, we'll get into that later on, but Pat and Matt, you're not truly a champion until you defend it once. All right, so maybe then they could give you the belt buckle then. But I always thought, so that way you don't have to wear the belt around in the Wally world,
Well, they've always said, I've always heard about, combat sports, even boxing. Just give me your thoughts. Is it easier? Which is easier? I guess none of it's easy, but winning it or defending it?
Winning it is easier. Defending it's impossible.
Because you just got killers just coming after you.
Well, because that's it. Now all of a sudden the scope's on you. It's one thing when you're climbing that ladder, everybody has that burning fire, that drive, that desire, that dream. I dreamed of this thing. I've been waiting my whole life. This has been a dream. You know what I mean? How many times you hear somebody saying that? I've been waiting my whole life for this moment. Well, now you become the person that has to destroy those moments. And you have to try. That's a different kind of incentive. Some crack, somewhat. But no matter what, for the rest of your career, you're always going to be that quote unquote former UFC champ or that former UFC champ. So everybody's going to be gunning from you from that day forward. There's never going to be a quote unquote easy fight, because even as the sport was growing up, it's like, you're fighting so-and-so. Okay. And then you ask them, I'm fighting the James Pulver. Oh my, I'm fighting the James Pulver. And that takes a whole nother world of, no matter what, you're always defending the title, because you'll always be called champ afterwards. You know what I mean?
Becomes the hunted. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's cool, man. Again, congratulations, man, and happy anniversary.
20 years.
That's what I was going to say.
Weird, right? It's weird.
20 years. That's crazy, man. Just thinking about it, like 20 years flew by like that.
It does and it doesn't, right? And that's why I have to stop, because and that's one of those moments where, but if you sit down and you just kind of reminisce and you start telling stories and and this is what I was saying about, I was talking about this earlier, and this is what's so cool is now all of a sudden when I watch somebody win their title for the first time, I get to be, for that moment, I get to remember. I get to be 23, 24 years old. You know what I mean? I get to win that belt again. And, so even after 20 years to be able to have that moment, still be able to relive that. If you just go back and think, it seems like a blink until you start telling the stories. And it's like, man, it was so long ago. And as long as you can still say that, life, and it lets you gather it. But sometimes we just walk in such a blur that it's a special thing, man, to be able to have that moment that people want to keep bringing up. And when it happens, you get to kind of sit back with 20, like, dang, wait, I'm not ready for the 50. I mean, I'll be like, hopefully I'm around, so
of course
we'll see.
Be. But it is special, man, and you always will be a champ. I mean, it's forever. It's just rare air you're breathing, man. Not a lot of people can say that they, did what you did, especially the first one. Yeah, that's something. And that's, again, because we don't really remember 22nd and the 23rd champ, but we'll always go back. We know who's the current, who is just behind him maybe, but then to go back and always see where it started, it's a pretty special spot. And Pat's very similar, like both of you guys.
Of course. Well, that's what got me on the plane, or got me on a train for 2.5 days, was to come out and work with. You got the UFC 170-pound, the welterweight champ. You've got Jeremy Horn, who was a killer, and then Monty Cox, because you hear about him and you hear about this whole extreme challenge. And I kept reading about that all the time in the Full Contact Fighter. And as I was sitting there in Seattle and I'm in college going, man, these guys, they've got everybody. They got all these guys that are getting into UFC, and they all fight in his show. And Monty's doing these tournaments that Laverne Clark, Dave Monet, Dennis Hallman, Matt Hughes are all in it. Matt Hughes is winning this thing or whatever it is. It's like, and these guys get into the UFC. And so that's when I was like, well, I have to get on a train and I have to go to Iowa, because if I go train with them, that's how I'm going to get in the UFC. And so that's what got me started. That's That's why I moved here. Now I'll never leave, but it's because of that. And now I get that because now that'll be my role. People ask all the time, when are you going to start training? When are you going to coach? Coach me. And I'm like, well, right now I'm your virtual coach. You come on the stream. I'll coach all day long. I don't really have that. I'm not really ready to become the coach. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Because what I tell people is, and I see it with militant stuff is, and I tell people all the time, my retirement's going to be a little different than a lot of people. My retirement's going to be extremely, extremely busy. So I want to spend this time right now with my family before I go and I start creating champions like my coach did, you know what I mean? And that team, and pass on that knowledge. And that MFS will live on forever. So I'm getting closer and I'm getting ready. But that's what I tell people. I'll coach until the day I die. But it'll be busy because those kids are all going to want to achieve their dream. And they're going to be just like me. I'd never wanted to look at Pat's belts. I didn't want to touch it. I looked at them, but I never wanted to put one on until I wanted to put my own. I remember that. He's like, here, grab it. I go, no. I go, the first one I'm going to touch is going to be mine. And I remember it was crazy.
That is crazy. Well, catch us up a little bit, champ. I know you are working back with the UFC a little bit. Talk to us a little bit about what you've been up to.
It's been, like I said, it's been heaven sent. This whole thing on Twitch, I started gaming at first, and then I was like, a friend of mine, he had to leave. My moderator had to take off, and I was like, all right, well, I don't like gaming by myself, so I was like, someone give me. I started watching video. I watched a parkour video or something, started laughing. I was just having too much fun breaking it down. Then someone said, hey, would you watch my fight? I just did this amateur fight. Yeah. So I started watching that, and then, like I said, a friend of mine says, oh, you got to see this thing called Street Beefs. And I was like, wait, what? So I reached out, got a hold of Scarface from Street Beefs, and I was like, Mr. Wilmore, you know what I mean? And I was like, hey, is it cool if I show these? And then I started talking. I was like, this is the coolest thing. I go, we need this. Because I was that kid that walked around with his boxing gloves, and I'd box my friends in the garage. I wanted to test my mettle. I wanted to get out there and move around but not go to jail. You know what I mean? Bunch of little alpha males and she-males testing each other's stuff. I wanted to do that. And then to see this kind of platform, it's exhibition, it was perfect. It gives them, and then it started with, again, if you had your bully and he said, hey, meet me in the yard, it changes things, because when you go out there and you give them time and you give them a week that they have to get ready, or 2 weeks, like, hey, we're going to meet in the yard. And then all of a sudden you bring in a referee and a crowd and a camera that can record this, and now you do the scariest part and you allow people to have an opinion. That's what makes it so scary about being a quote-unquote pro, you know what I mean, and an amateur fighter. So I was a fan of that. Point is, I started watching those and breaking them down. And they're like, no, wait, you got a UFC champ breaking them down. I'm like, yeah, I love this. And so that kind of started down that pathway that I just started thinking, there was a lot of boxing matches, a lot of fights I didn't see during my career because I had my head in a tunnel and I was doing my own thing. But now I started putting on my coaching pants, so to speak. And so I made this Twitch TV Gyms Pulver became my virtual gym. And I just sit here and spend 5, 6, 7 hours rapping with people and breaking down fights, and they bring me their fights. And so it's everything I love doing. It's everything I've always been, it's my turn to give back, my turn to be a coach. And I tell everybody that comes in, you're my students. So it's been a blast. That happened. Then there's like Twitch TV UFC started. And so they're like, well, we need a host one time. Would you come in? I was like, shoot. Oh yeah. And like, hey, you got to be able to, can you be able to watch this many fights in 3 hours? Can you be able to entertain them? And I was like, please, just let me sit back and watch this. I was like, sit back and watch this. And by the time I got done with the first video, I was already 45 minutes into it. That's why I'm the pause king, because I'll pause, break down knowledge. I'll sit there with chat, talk to them. They'll say something. It'll remember. I'll fire off things I've learned. I'll start telling stories. They'll start remembering. And it's just been, and it just took off from there. And that's been, and now, like I said, I do every Monday, breaking down the fights that happened on the Saturday. If we'll have one March 6th, we've got the UFC watch along. I don't know who my guests are this time, but I've had Aljamain Sterling, Angela Overkill Hill, TSM Viss, Chris Weidman, to name a few. Michael Chiesa was in. So we're building those up. I think the last one we had 1.9 million came through.
Ooh,
it's crazy, right?
Big numbers, bro.
But we get to sit down and we get to break down fights and all these fights from UFC Fight Pass, and so it's carried into now. I'm kind of coming through the back door, and here I am as a analyst and a commentator for the UFC, but just in a different version.
Something. One of the last fights we called. This is the growth of Cage Aggression MMA. It was an incredible fight between Michael Shipp and Juan Carlos. And the fight ended, like a lot of them do in Cage Aggression, with a devastating spinning heel kick. And your reaction was, pardon the language, holy shit.
Yeah, I couldn't help it.
It was so impactful, and that wound up catching, the ear of the news. We were on Business Insider and some other media. What do you recall of that devastating knockout, man?
And that's what people need. I've had it happen a couple of times. I try not to cuss. I try not to get into it, but as we're sitting there calling it, you get into the fight. You start thinking about, how they're moving, how they're doing it. And then to see a fighter just kind of turn it off and spin one off the way that they do. And then the way that it just starches them. Holy. And you're still all of a sudden you forget that you're a commentator, you're an analyst, and you're a fan, and you're just a youngster watching a sport. And you're just like, holy shit. You know what I mean? Like, holy shit. You can't believe it. Just like, oh, and professionalism gets knocked out the window, because that's the beautiful thing about this sport is you never know. The unknowns are, it's unreal. In a blink, this sport can change, in a second. And that's what's beautiful about it, is they have that kind of, you don't just sit back and you can just kind of get lulled to sleep by a fight or something like that. Then all of a sudden, and you just all of a sudden the 14 minutes before are forgiven, and all you think about is that one second. But I'm not saying this fight, but in some, just the art of the knockout and the way that it happens sometimes, and I can't get over hearing Miletich with the Jordan and that fight that he just had when he spun that thing off, and he's just like, okay, that sound, oh my, the sound.
Yeah,
right?
Sitting right there was like a coconut. And Pat, I've been calling fights with Pat for a little while now. He hopped up on his feet and was like, that's bad. That's really bad. Like you just really knew.
And that's it. Knew. And it was crazy. And I got that eerie feeling when I seen him. And it reminded me really quick, that's something that, could you imagine? Like, I could never imagine. We always had, as a Miletich fighter, it was always harder for us to be on the outside of that cage coaching than it was to be the one in the cage. Because I love my brothers so much, you know what I mean? I loved my team so much that I'd want to be the one in there throwing down rather than, but then, could you imagine, having to hear a shot like that and have it to be one of my teammates? I couldn't imagine. Now I could see Pat, you can hear it in his voice, the concern.
Yeah.
It's impressive. But it just goes to show, I'm going to show that fight later. I want people to understand that no matter what level it is, it's not a game. It's not a game, man, and things can happen. So please train hard, give yourself every opportunity in the world to walk in there and make sure that you walk out. And that's what I was saying about it. It ties all the way back to when I was getting ready to fight Uno, and I was on that boardwalk. Like, is this really, when you give everybody a hug and you say your goodbyes and you're thinking about it, man, am I ready for this? I've done everything. And that's what I mean. Preparation gives you so much confidence, but to hear that in Pat's voice, that was something. But again, everything, the spin to win, and, the one we were talking about where he spun that kick off, same thing, it's luckily we love it. We go crazy for knockouts, but at the same token, we love and support it. We're like, it's a crazy game.
For sure. And if you want to go check out any of these, the fight Jen's going to be breaking down, or the Juan Carlos Michael Shipp, go to the Cage Aggression MMA YouTube page, and we're starting to break down. There's full cards there, and we're starting to actually break down individual fights. And the one Jen's going to be breaking down here is Brandon Jenkins and Jordin the Henchman Hinman. An incredible fight, ended in the first round with a devastating knockout. So without further ado, champ, I don't want to keep you any much longer. I'll let you get to the breakdown, my friend.
All right, we'll see you soon. Thank you, guys.
All right, see you in March, buddy.
I'm going to show you guys a fight here in a minute. This will make you never, ever, ever want to fight again. And it happened in a legitimate fight. No, it wasn't Sage's. I see now. And this one, though, you can hear Militich and them going off. And you can hear Pat, the second he heard it, he pops up and goes, that's bad. That's bad. Oh, my God, that's bad. That's bad. And that's all he can say. That's bad. That's bad. This is horrible. And it's unreal. Shattered his whole face. It shattered his whole face. Crushed it. And guess what he did? He spun one off. And he caught him. Here it is. Oh, my God. Here it is. All right. Skip.
This is the impact sport.
Valley Monster Tap House, Squirrel's Tree Care, Yabba Dabba's House of Glass, Farley's Support Your Local Dive Bar, Batman Blackjack Norris.
It's never over until it's over. All right?
Frazee Electric, Vital Proteins, and Bloom Hemp CBD. Joining us from Burlington, Iowa, the Henchman, Jordan Hinman.
Jenkins looking very, very calm, while Hinman just evil eyeing him.
All right, gentlemen, this is the professional welterweight division for Caged Aggression's main event. We went over the rules in the back. Brandon, do you have any questions? Jordan, do you have any questions? Touch them up now if you wish, and let's do this.
Jenkins shooting us a smile just before the fight. You gotta like that confidence.
This isn't the time for the bathroom break or the beer break or any of that. This is going to be a bang.
What? Christopher, what I miss? Just remember this. All I'm going to say is you can see it right in the title. All right? You can see it right in the title. This will make you never want to be a fighter. I can promise you. I can promise you. This will make you never, ever, ever want to step in here.
All right, gentlemen, here we go. Brandon, you ready? Jordan, you ready? Let's go.
No glove touch.
Yo, Kago MMA, how you do? Or just get ready.
We know what he's doing when he goes southpaw. Implement that offense first. Yep. There we go. There we go. Brandon with a miss there. With Jordan taking his back for a hot second.
Yep, snap. There we go. You got those building blocks on that side. Yep, there we go. Yep. Don't let him out. Keep talking. Keep that back there.
Both clearly showing respect for each other.
And both switching from southpaw to conventional stance and back and forth.
Yeah, keep stabbing. Yeah.
Good elbow.
Jordan firing away.
Ooh. Beautiful knee to the body.
Good knee by Brandon.
Right, Jordan scoring with that one.
You go first. What do we work on?
Brandon, rather, I'm sorry.
There's blood coming from somebody. See some on Jenkins. I don't know if that's coming from him. Hinman using those cornrows to grind on Jenkins' jawline.
Randy Couture used to love to utilize that to grind his head right into somebody's.
Oh,
good
big
knees, good knees. Look
Another
at that jump
knee from Jordan Hinman.
Controlling the head.
Oh!
What was that?
Big right hand.
Grind his head right into somebody's.
Oh, big knees. Another
Caged Aggression here locally.
big knee. Flying knee from Jordan Hinman.
I'm commentating on the 26th of March.
Oh!
That was a cup shot, wasn't it?
Oh,
Big
God.
right hand, right flush on the chin. Brandon Jenkins.
Sound like a hammer hitting a coconut.
You see him throwing that elbow?
So when he has a beard.
Jordan's just kind of clowning, right?
Good timing on that.
Brandon's doing a good job of timing him.
Yeah, you see a little bit of blood from Jordan Hinman's forehead. Can't tell where exactly that's coming from.
I think it's right at the hairline.
Straight right to the belly hole.
Right
Good
on
hook.
the top, over by his left.
Jenkins is cut over the right eye.
Yes, sir. That's a big cut. That is a big, nasty one.
That might have been from that big shot.
Nasty one.
That might have been
Listen.
from that big shot.
Broke his whole face. He's never fighting again. Listen to watch Milicic. Watch.
Elbow to the face of Jordan Hinman. It is over. Spinning elbow.
That's bad.
See, all Milicic can say is that's bad.
You heard that.
That's bad. Dude, do you know how bad it is?
That's bad.
That's all he can say. That's bad.
Oh my God. Whoa.
Wow, you heard that, ladies and gentlemen.
That's a
Spinning
severe
elbow.
injury.
That could be
That's
a broken orbital
severe
bit.
injury.
Yeah.
That's more than that. That's a cheekbone.
Shattered the whole face. And all that, you go back to, look, and what he do? He spun it. I know. I don't know if I'm trying to.
I love you, John Wood. Wow,
You see how it broke that whole spin to win. That's what I'm saying. To spin the win right there.
wow, the
Boom.
impact of that, ladies and gentlemen, was just
There it is again.
absolutely
Broke that whole side of his face.
explosive impact.
And right away it was over. Kudos to
Boom. And good
the
job on the
referee
ref.
for stopping him from taking any
Good job on the ref.
more punishment and jumping in.
Yeah. He knew.
You heard the impact of that, ladies.
Yeah, we got to move on, but that's just, you know what I'm saying? And he was, you know what I'm saying? You never know. I mean, it's a crazy, crazy game, isn't it? It's a crazy game. And that's, you never know. You're never guaranteed anything out there. And all it takes, again, props to Brandon,
A little bit more of the fight again.
Both of these guys firing away.
We talk about Jenkins, his experience.
And he ate those knees.
Jordan flying with
Jumping on
those
him right
kicks.
there, you know what I mean? And he's just kind of pushing on him. Jenkins was a stronger
Been up
guy.
against some
Ladies and
extremely
gentlemen,
tough
your
opponents.
referee, Bruce Allen, has called.
Boom. Just unreal. My man never even seen it coming. Look, it didn't even dawn on him what was going to happen.
Been up against some
Ladies and
extremely
gentlemen,
tough
your
opponents.
referee, Bruce Allen.
Right there. And then here it comes. I mean, just an amazing punch. An amazing punch.
Has
Boom. I mean, you can see it. Just broke that whole, just destroyed that cheekbone, that orbital. Just destroyed it. Destroyed it. I'm more impressed. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I can't believe he's up and walking.
called a stop
right?
to this contest.
And he's still covered up, and he covered
At
up,
2
which
minutes,
was nuts.
3 seconds into round one, declaring your winner by knockout, the human highlight reel. Big win. I know it was.
And he was cut, you know what I'm saying? And my man's got a lot of heart, but just think about that. It makes it just kind of, why are elbows allowed but not soccer kicks? I don't know. I think knees on the ground should always be allowed. You know what I mean?
Screen for you to relive right now.
Should always be allowed.
True to fashion, living up to your nickname, the human highlight reel.
This is definitely a highlight. This is going to go.
Talk to us now about how it feels getting back in that
the
win
hook
column,
and then
Brandon.
the spin.
Man.
Boom. I mean, just.
And I think I fell afterwards. I'm such a doofus. Nobody knows the shit I've been through this year. I mean,
It's just crazy. I mean, it's a bad. It was a bad shot. You know what I mean? What a shot! Though. I told you, it'll change the way you look at fighting. You know what I mean? It'll make you not want to get in there for sure. That was 5 months ago. Yeah, it's nasty though. You know what I mean? It's rugged. You got to be careful all the way through, right? Every moment. You're not safe. At any moment, that thing can change. It's crazy. It's a weird game. A weird game.